Chapter 50, The End. Disclaimer: it had to end sometime. Sorry to see it end, but it couldn't go on forever, could it? The end. Ron was halfway to the Hufflepuff common room when he ran into his best friend. "Hey Harry," Ron greeted his friend. "Morning Ron," Harry replied. "Going off to meet Hannah?" "Yeah," Ron agreed. "I've been walking her to breakfast every day." "Good for is that a green owl coming towards us?" Harry asked in shock. "Must be something from Fred and George," Ron said with a laugh. "They are always testing odd charms." The owl perched on a convenient suit of armor and extended its leg. "Let's see what they want," Harry said with a grin. "Be careful opening that, mate," Ron advised. Harry's face hardened as he read the letter. "Bastards, what's wrong, Harry?" Ron asked nervously. "It's a note from Voldemort," Harry replied absently. "He says that he's taken Hermione." "What?" Ron paled. "When was the last time you saw her?" Harry asked calmly. "About 10 minutes ago," Ron replied. "She went off to help a Slytherin firstie find his toad. Could have slipped her a portkey." Harry mused. "What are we gonna do, Harry?" Ron asked. "Get her back," Harry replied. Harry deactivated the glamour on his bracelet and reactivated his set field. Ron's eyes widened as Harry's hair began to grey and he got a brief image of a much harder-looking man before Harry's features twisted into an unrecognizable blur. Who are you?" the redhead asked nervously. "Me, I'm just a guy." The stranger donned a long black coat, in bad need of a vacation. "Where's Harry?" Ron asked, afraid of the answer. "He disappeared sometime this summer," the strange man replied. "Maybe someday I'll go find him again, but not now. Now I'm going to go end a few people." "Wait," Ron called as the strange man began to leave the room. "Take me with you. They are my friends and I want to help." The odd man paused and looked back. "No you don't. If you come with me then you will die, either your body or your soul, and I'm not going to be responsible for that. I've ended too many lives to want to add another to the list." "At least tell me your name," Ron called out. The odd man turned away and walked through the portrait-guarded door. "Mr. Black, I Shatterbone," Hermione said quickly. A purple ball shot out the tip of Hermione's wand and destroyed Draco's wand hand. "Axio wand." Hermione ignored Draco's wand as it flew by her head and approached her downed opponent. "How could you win?" Draco whined. "I'm a pure blood. It shouldn't have been possible for you to win." "I practice dueling with Harry every day," Hermione replied calmly. The tip of her wand was trained on Draco's face, "and I've spent hours researching new spells." "What have you done?" "My blood should have carried the day," Draco said as he cradled his ruined hand. "You shouldn't have had a chance." "Interesting theory," Hermione said. Hermione's face hardened as she remembered the reason she fought the duel. "Where's Harry?" "Dead," Draco said smugly. "Or he soon will be anyway. Just wait. When the Dark Lord assumes his rightful place as ruler of the world you'll have a chance to join him in death." "Ignace," the tip of Hermione's wand started to glow red. "Do you know what this charm is?" Hermione continued, ignoring Draco's lack of response. "It was developed in 1642 to light pipes and fell out of use 3 years later when self-lighting pipes were made available. I found it in an obscure book about, well, I suppose that doesn't matter." "Where is Harry?" "Shut up, Mudblood," Draco glared. "I'm gonna enjoy teaching you your place after the Dark Lord kills Potter." "Really?" Hermione jammed the tip of her wand into Draco's arm, causing him to let out a pain scream. "One interesting thing about the Ignace charm is that it does not cause any damage to the wand that casts it. This is an improvement on some of the older charms of that type that would sometimes cause damage to the tip of the wand due to the intense heat produced." "Are you ready to tell me where Harry is?" "Go to hell, Mudblood," Draco shouted. Draco screamed as Hermione marked his other arm. "The next time I don't get an answer," Hermione's face was expressionless, "I'm going to put this in your right eye." "You can't do this," Draco shuddered. "You'll go to Azkaban." "If you were to read the dueling code, I think you'd find that I can do anything to you I want aside from the 3 unforgivable spells, and I have far too much imagination to have to rely on a simple Cursio." Hermione moved the tip of her wand over Draco's eye. "Last chance to give me an answer." "Wait," Draco started sobbing. "Malfoy Manor. I told him that you'd be at Malfoy Manor." "That wasn't so hard now, was it, Draco? Now let me explain something to you, ferret." Hermione's eyes flashed dangerously. "If Harry dies, you die. You and your entire family will be no more. Do you understand me?" "Why yes," Draco gasped. "I understand you." "Good," Hermione growled. Hermione stunned Draco and walked out of the room. She was going to save Harry from himself again. As he reached the limit of the castle grounds, Harry paused in thought. Reaching into his pocket, he pulled out his father's map and spent a few moments examining it. Harry said to himself, I knew Hermione was too smart to fall for any of that ferret's tricks. As he took a deep breath and looked back at the castle, Harry made his choice. Guess it's too late to go back, Harry mused. I've gone too far and done too many things. It's time things came to a conclusion. Hermione rushed out of the room and into a group of junior Death Eaters. Going somewhere, muttered one of them, asked with a smirk. You don't want to do this, Hermione said flatly. Oh, but we do, another disagreed. Is there a problem here? A squeaky voice from the shadows asked. Who? Hermione glanced over. Dobby is here, the house elf confirmed. Everything is under control. Dobby, Hermione began. You have to get behind Dobby, Miss Hermy, Dobby commanded. Dobby has to take out the trash now. Take out the trash? Hermione asked incredulously. Yes, the elf giggled. Mr. Black says that it's important to make witty remarks before battle, unless it makes it not a surprise. I see. Hermione remembered the seriousness of the situation they were in. Go get help while it's Dobby's job to deal with them, the house elf replied firmly. But you can't. Hermione watched in shock as the small elf pulled out a badge. Dobby works for Mr. Black now. The elf smiled and activated the transformation. And Mr. Black doesn't like Death Eaters. What followed could be described as a battle by someone whose only experience with battles had been pushing around their younger schoolmates. Therefore it was lucky that the opposing side was mostly made up of the members of Draco's gang, several of whom were shocked to learn that a dozen poorly trained junior Death Eater wannabes were no match for an enraged house elf. That takes care of that. Dobby nodded in satisfaction as he looked at the pile of his defeated foes. Be happy that Dobby was here and not Mr. Black. Dobby was Gentile. Mr. Black would not have been Gentile, Hermione asked with a smirk. Dobby let them live. The house elf looked up with wide eyes. Mr. Black would not have been so generous. I thought house elves weren't allowed to harm humans except in defense of their master. The little house elf replied quickly. Dobby works for Mr. Black. Dobby is now in the service of the world. I see. Hermione twisted her mind around that odd bit of logic. I almost forgot. We have to stop Harry. He's walking into a trap. Dobby will get help. The house elf replied quickly. Dobby will get an army. Wait, Hermione called out as the house elf disappeared. Damn. Hermione ran up several flights of stairs before finally running into someone in the Great Hall. Ron. Hermione slid to a stop. Harry's walking into a trap. We've got to go help him. It wasn't Harry, Ron replied in a dead voice. He said Harry was missing. What are you talking about? Hermione demanded. Who said that, Mr. Black? Ron turned to reveal eyes filled with chairs. He said that he didn't know where Harry is, and then he left. What? Hermione paled. We have to get the headmaster. I wanted to go with him, Ron continued dully. I wanted to go fight, to find Harry, or avenge him, but he said number Ron. Hermione blinked back her own tears. I've called the door. We're going to get Harry. Are you coming with us? I'll go to hell if that's what it takes. Ron took a deep breath. If not even Mr. Black can find Harry, then that means the Death Eaters have him. Let's go get him back. A resounding cheer rose from the collected ranks of the defense study group that had arrived just in time to hear Ron's last statement. I need 4 volunteers, 4 that I can trust. Ron looked around the hall. Not you, Neville. I have something else in mind for you. Can you trust your sister? Ginny stepped forward with a grin. What about me? Ronald? Luna gave a dreamy smile. I'll do it. Hannah nodded. If you can't trust a Hufflepuff, then who can you trust? And I guess I make 4. Dean stepped forward. Can't let you girls have all the fun. I need you all to do this. Ron fixed each with a glare. You will not argue about this. It's the most important thing that anyone here will do, and I will not have any back talk. The 4 students gave their agreement and braced themselves for the worst. Ginny, Luna, Hannah. Ron looked at the 3 girls. You go to your heads of house, tell them about what's happening and where we're going. Dean, you go to Dumbledore. We don't have a chance without him and the Order. Due to the seriousness of the situation, none of the 4 objected, though Ginny did frown at her big brother's deviousness. Where are we going? Neville asked, glad that Ron had told him to step back into the ranks. Hermione. Ron turned to his remaining friend with a worried look. You did think of that, didn't you, Malfoy Manor? Hermione took a deep breath. Draco couldn't wait to tell me where to go. What did ya do? Ron smirked. I can't imagine Malfoy doing anything to help us. All I had to do was ask him the right way, Hermione replied evenly. And after a bit of quibbling, he told me everything I wanted to know. Is he still alive? Ron's voice turned serious. For now, Hermione nodded. Let's go. Ron led the way. We'll see if we can't catch a flu from the 3 broomsticks. We might have some help coming from Mr. Black and his people. Hermione raised her voice to be heard above the crowd. So don't fire at anyone that doesn't have a mask unless they shoot first, Mr. Black. The students started to relax as their prospects for survival took a dramatic upturn. What's he doing there? I would guess that he is going out to kill Voldemort. Ron's voice held a hint of satisfaction. He made contact with me before he left. We don't have time for anything else, Hermione said. Let's go. The students marched out of Hogwarts and through the castle grounds. What's going on? A passerby called out to the group of students as they marched through the United Kingdom's only magical town. We're going to go fight Voldemort with Mr. Black, one of the students replied. What? The passerby asked incredulously. Join us or get out of the way, Ron commanded. We're going to go make the country safe for decent people. You can join us or step out of our way. I can't let you kids go off to die on your own, the man said fatalistically. Let's go. The small group picked up a few more members before they burst through the doors of the 3 broomsticks and walked to the fireplace. Ron took a handful of flu powder and tossed it into the flames. Malfoy Manor. Harry arrived at the Malfoy residence and walked through its few defenses like they didn't exist. Stepping over the bodies of the few Death Eaters that had gotten in his way, Harry made himself to the area that he felt a dark presence. Potter, the Dark Lord stood up as Harry entered. So nice of you to come. Hello Tom. Harry's eyes shone with unholy fury. You're here for the Mudblood. Voldemort smirked. I imagined that she's still back in Hogwarts wondering where you were unless Draco decided to show a bit of initiative. I know, Harry smiled. Little Jit's no match for Hermione, and for your information the name's not Potter, it's Black. What? The Dark Lord's eyes widened in fear. Avgasius Florine, Harry called out, conjuring a cloud of Florine gas around the Dark Lord's body. Goodbye Tom. Voldemort gave a blood-curdling scream as his body was consumed. Harry watched impassively as the Dark Lord's body fell to the ground. And that takes care of that, Harry said in satisfaction. Voldemort's hand twitched as he attempted to cast the familiar curse. Not dead yet? Harry asked in surprise. Well, we can take care of that problem. Harry's foot crushed the remains of Voldemort's wand hand and a quick spell summoned it to his hand. Did the Dark Lord gurgled. Guess all those rituals to extend your life and make that body more durable weren't such a good idea after all, Harry asked with a grin. I'd bet the pain must be horrific. Now, Voldemort commanded. Harry felt a sharp sting in his calf as the Dark Lord's pet sunk her fangs in his leg. You think that's going to slow me down? Harry asked with a laugh. I think it's time to end this conversation of ours. Harry drew his sword and changed it to its scythe form with a thought. Goodbye Tom. Voldemort didn't even have a chance to scream as the large scythe descended to remove his head. Harry felt a sharp jolt of energy as his blade destroyed the Dark Lord. Why won't you die? Nagini hissed. I can't, Harry replied as he turned to destroy the last piece of the Dark Lord. Goodbye. A couple quick spells removed the bodies and Harry exited the castle to find himself in front of a large group of people. Hello Mr. Black, Dobby called out. Is Mildewarts dead? Yes, Harry called back. A loud cheer shattered the night and the men began clapping each other on the back. Away from it all stood Harry, just staring at the old house. Harry Potter, he looked down at his phoenix feather wand. Harry Potter would have never done the things that I've done. Harry Potter is dead. Harry frowned as he dropped his wand. Mr. Black has taken his place. Damn it, I need another vacation. Are you alright my friend? The professor approached cautiously. Physically, but I am sick and tired of being Fate's plaything. Why can't I have a normal life? Why must I be the universe's spittoon? Not to complain, but I'm getting more than ready to have a bit of quiet. Harry shook off the feeling and turned to his friend. Your charm worked as good as you thought it would. Do you have any orders for the men? The professor didn't like to see his friend in such a melancholy mood. Kill any Death Eaters, free any prisoners, grab anything of value, and get out before anyone else arrives, Harry said. His eyes went to Voldemort's wand and still clutched in his left hand. Screw it, Harry said. I don't need another wand. Harry dropped the wand next to its brother and turned back to his friend. We'll be gone in less than a minute, the professor said. Harry's orders set off a frenzy of activity as the man carried out his will. After about 30 seconds, the professor approached with a man dressed as a Death Eater. Yes, Harry asked. This is Phil. The professor introduced the man dressed as a Death Eater. He along with almost every other Death Eater you allowed to live, is a deep cover agent for one of the various police and intelligence agencies, and Harry prompted, and if you'll take down the wards, Phil said, we'd like to finish this place off with a little gas leak if you don't mind. Sure, Harry agreed. Why not, thank you, Phil said with a grin. Pleasure to meet you, and an even greater pleasure to be allowed to work with you. I'll make sure everything is set up, the professor said with a grin. Ready to go, sir? One of the men called out to Harry. Anytime you're ready, then go. Harry smiled. Thank you all for coming. The pleasure was all ours, sir. Another man called out. Thanks for inviting us. Harry activated the invisibility enchantments on his robe and faded from sight. I'll be around. I can't see him. The man stared at the spot that had previously held Mr. Black in shock. Mr. Black is very good at invisibility, the professor replied as he prepared to port up. You don't understand, the man completed his own preparations. I can usually see the invisible. I can't see Mr. Black, and I don't think he used any form of magical transportation. He's Mr. Black, the professor explained and activated his portkey. He can do anything. The other man nodded and activated his own. Harry walked away from the house to a safe distance and waited for the old house to disappear. Damn it, Ron repeated. Malfoy Manor, I know that's the bloody address. What's wrong? Hermione asked with a frown. Bloody flu won't connect, Ron replied tightly. Try Budgie Smudgy, a red third year suggested. That's my grandmother's house. It's not far from where the Malfoys live. Budgie Smudgy, Ron called out. It worked. Let's go. Dumbledore arrived just in time to see the Malfoy home disappear into a horrific ball of fire. No, Dumbledore whispered in shock. No, Dumbledore screamed. Harry, the old man cried out. Harry, call out if you can hear me. Hearing no answer, Dumbledore began checking the corpses with a growing sense of dread. Please be alive. I'll save you, Harry. Just hold on a bit longer. Professor Dumbledore froze at the sound of a voice behind him. Yes, asked as he turned to look at the mixed group of students and townsfolk. Where's Harry? The young students asked with a frown. I don't know, Dumbledore said sympathetically, but we're going to find him. Everyone start digging, every second counts. The group set to work sifting through the rubble, and they were soon joined by the Order, then a group of Aurors led by Madame Bones, and finally by a group of civilians. One thing bound them together, the belief that they had to find Harry Potter before it was too late. Hermione, Ron's voice cracked as he called to his friend. I think you should come over here. What is it? Hermione asked crossly. Just come over here, Ron repeated. Very well, Hermione agreed. Ron's eyes refused to leave the ground as he waited for his friend to arrive. Now what is it? Hermione asked. Is this what I think it is? Ron pointed to something on the ground. His wand, Hermione confirmed in a whisper. Professor Dumbledore, Ron yelled. The boy felt a lump in his throat and he was uncomfortably close to chairs. Come over here. Did you find him? Dumbledore asked as he ran towards the group. No, Ron replied. We found his wand. Dumbledore looked down to see two wands, both strangely untouched by the destruction around them. He won, Dumbledore said tightly. No matter what the future may hold, we will meet it secure in the knowledge that Harry Potter won his duel and made the world safe for us. It took them another hour to sift through the rubble, and it became clear that Harry Potter's body was not to be found beside those of his enemies. Through it all, Harry Potter watched. His heart ached and he was racked with guilt as he saw the number of people and the effort expended first to save his life and finally to find his body. As he watched, Harry realized that he couldn't just disappear as had been his original intention. Jotting out a couple quick notes, Harry walked down to the group and wrote them in front of his friends. Unable to think of anything else to do, Harry decided to leave before his resolve disappeared. Professor, Ron yelled, I found an envelope. People crowded around to hear the words as Ron read. To the wizarding world, do not expect me to solve every one of your problems. Tom Riddle was your responsibility and you failed to live up to my expectations. He annoyed me. See that you don't, Mr. Black. Guys, I'm sorry but I just can't come back to Hogwarts. There used to be a saying, how will you get them to go back to the farm after they've seen Paris? I can't go back to Hogwarts. I'm sorry. I'm not saying that I don't want to be your friends anymore. I couldn't give that up. I just need more time to clear my head. Maybe I can come back in a few years. I love you guys but I'm not too fond of nearly every member of the magical community in the United Kingdom. We will see each other again and I will try to keep in contact. Until we meet again, Harry. Later that night, Dumbledore was sitting in his office sipping a glass of 50-year-old single malt and contemplating the way events had resolved themselves. "I did a great disservice to that poor boy," Dumbledore said sadly, "and I never had a chance to make amends." Any further thought ended at the disturbance of a flu call. Albus Dumbledore, the head in the fireplace, was expressionless. "Mr. Black wanted me to tell you something." "What's that?" There was no joy on the headmaster's face. "Is it about Harry?" "One could say that," the face agreed. "He wanted me to tell you this. Prophecy is for the weak-minded. In the future, don't expect a child to do your dirty work." The end. And, well, this chapter has been written for the last few months and it wasn't easy to keep myself from changing it. I'm not happy about the way things ended, but that's normal. I'm never happy with the ending of one of my fics. I guess I can't complain too much. I did finish it after all. A few notes about the chapter. I used Hermione in the duel with Draco for 3 reasons. 1. Ron would have killed the little bastard. 2. A friend of mine requested a scene where Hermione gets in a duel with Draco and stomps him without much trouble. And 3. I like Hermione along with Luna. She's one of my 2 favorite characters. Give me a bit of time to get a sequel out. I have 2 planned at the moment. The first one has a working title of The Hunt for Harry Potter and it's about Hermione and Luna searching for their friend and the further adventures of Mr. Black. The second is more of a make-file and it's about Harry's misadventures. Current title is Back in Black, but that could change. A little taste of things to come. Somewhere in northwestern Canada 6 months later, Beer the bartender jumped as the strange man in the corner made himself known. "Sorry, I didn't notice you before. I'll get your beer right away." "No problem." Harry nodded. "I'm good at going unnoticed." A few minutes later, no one moved. The thug waved his pistol around. "Give me everything in the cash register." "All right, son," the bartender said, trying to keep everyone calm. "No one has to get hurt. Don't talk back to me." The thug screamed, shattering the bar mirror with a badly placed shot. "I'm the one with the gun, and that means that I'm the one with the power." The man's tirade cut off abruptly as an empty beer bottle hit him in the side of the head. "All I wanted was some peace and quiet," Harry lamented as he lowered his arm. "But no, something always has to happen. Why can't I have just 1 week without something like this happening? Just 1 bloody week?" Harry calmly approached the dazed punk who had regained enough of his senses to start yelling threats. "I'm gonna gut you. You're dead. You hear me? Dead?" "Yes," Harry agreed, kicking the man in the head. "I'm taking one last look around the bar." Harry sighed. Experience had taught him that when things like this happened it was time to move on. "Wait," the bartender called. "Who are you, stranger?" Harry paused and muttered something right before he stepped out the bar's batwing doors and disappeared into the night. "What did he say?" the bartender asked his paling customers. "For God's sake, tell me what he said." "Mr. Black," one of the customers managed to calm enough to speak. "He said that his name was Mr. Black." "My God," the bartender's eyes widened in shock. "My God." A mech by Chris Hill, the SAS personnel who had been out on that call earlier, strode into the bar, where the officer just ordered 5 rounds per person. "What's up with you?" one of the others asked. "Do you ever think the BBC knows more than it's letting on? What's that supposed to mean, mate?" "Well, at the emergency, hello, private, I need to pass," said a woman whose face was unrecognizable and was accompanied by 2 people. The private held up his hand. "I'm afraid not, ma'am. Only those with clearance are allowed in." The woman sighed, and brought out some identification. "My name is the doctor, and I'm with unit." The private snorted. "Like that is likely. You've seen too much of the telly. Please ask for your captain, and let me talk to him. Or would you like to talk with 10 Downing?" The private shook his head. With nuts like this, it was best to pass it on to the captain. Humoring them would get rid of them faster. "Just a second, ma'am." After the captain arrived, and got the same spiel, he asked for a phone and called his commanding officer at headquarters. "Sir, I have some people from unit." He smiled into the phone, thinking of how best to humor these people. "Let them in." The captain pulled the phone away from his ear for a moment, looked at it, and then put it back. "I beg your pardon, sir, but did you say to let them in?" "Yes." The PM called, and unit has been cleared. They are apparently following someone called the doctor. I thought it was a joke myself until I called the PM back to confirm. The captain hung up and waved the individuals in. He had to see this. The doctor sighed as her people looked over the evidence. Dementors were on the loose in the area. Fortunately, she had a useful weapon for this. "Everyone have their chocolate pens?" Her people nodded and went hunting, along with the captain, who was curious as to the reason for holding ballpoint pens. Half an hour later he was answered as he and several other SAS officers who were being affected by something observed the Doctor and her two companion fire chocolate and cover two creatures who literally disintegrated under the assault. I believe that is it. Just a second and we'll have you fixed up. I. And just like that, she pressed something in her pocket and a bloody blue police phone box comes squalling out of nowhere. She goes inside with the captain and her companions, and they come out with several large cases of chocolate which she said that we needed to eat and distribute. The captain ain't talking, but he's been drowning since then, and won't say what's inside. I'm bloody looking at the series and making weapons that can handle what is shown. If unit is real, and the bloody, damned, Doctor Who is real, then what else is Unit stands for Unnatural Notions Investigative Team. Another good make by Chris Hill. Fred and George sided each other. While it was good to be in on the joke, it was not as good as playing the joke. Brother mine, George began as he was flipping through the instructions on the new equipment that Harry had sent them. We need to do something, Fred continued. He may be a Morader's son, but he isn't a professional prankster. George, old fiend, does this badge remind you of something? Fred grinned while reading his manual. George raised an eyebrow and read a passage. That movie we saw a few weeks ago. Do you think the professor will help us with it? Probably. A few days later, there was a knock on Amelia Bones' door, and she looked up. There were no appointments scheduled for this time. Two heads then stuck themselves in. Hello, Mrs. Bones, one began. We have something for you to try and test. The other continued. It's been approved by Mr. Black. The first one finished. Come in. Amelia sighed as she recognized the Weasley twins. Their shop was getting a little too famous. George pulled out a set of cards. We wish to present to you, with the compliments of Weasley's Wizarding Weezers, 500 Mr. Black chocolate frog cards, useful, as Mr. Black proved, against Dementors. She sighed. Place them on the desk, boys. I'll get around to checking them later. 15 minutes after the Weasleys had left, Director Bones found a small business card on her nameplate. It had the letters Mob. Turning it over, she saw a place and time marked. How the hell the card had arrived was a mystery she was going to solve. Bones arrived at the Muggle restaurant and was directed at a table in back, where she saw two men in black suits. You wanted to meet with me? The two men turned, and she then noted that she couldn't recognize their features or faces. Yes, Director Bones, this meeting will be short. First, let us introduce ourselves. I am Agent F. This is Agent G of the MOB. The Mob, Amelia asked, not liking how this was going. Number Agent G stated, the MOB, Men of Black. We wanted to give you a file for you to investigate, on behalf of our boss. Agent F then said, please pay particular attention to the names, and investigate their circumstances. They're all rather unusual. You need your memory, so we won't be obliviating you. Just be sure that you do not inform anyone of us, why we do not exist. We are figments of the imagination. We protect the people from the scum of the earth, but do so without anyone knowing that we are there. We're the Mob. I have two men outside the door. They are waiting to arrest you, Amelia stated, now understanding that she was contacted by the mysterious agency that didn't exist. No worries, G said. Please put these glasses on, and follow us. F continued. When they got outside, the two auras that were with Director Bones took the opportunity to approach the two. Please place your wands where we can see them, G said, while holding up a pen. We do not have any wands. In fact, the closest thing is this new camera that the Muggles are playing with. Such ease. After the flash, F said, you were concerned for Director Bones, and decided to follow her. She had an unremarkable lunch. The glasses please, Director Bones, G said. Two to port up. Amelia's mouth was open at how everything happened so quickly. Well boys, everything worked great, Professor Fred said. Good. The architect is intrigued by your idea, and wants to create a base. The mechanic wants to see some of your vehicle designs, and Henchgerald and I have a few ideas for improving the gadget designs you came up with. Your mob organization is well on its way, Fred old bean. Yes, George old pal. Ever get the feeling that you are the butt of your own joke? Grivner met with Bones in a certain very secure room. They spent the next few nights trying to compile possible sightings of the Mob, which turned out to be a lot more than even they expect. Black, it seemed, had agents everywhere. And 02, this is the last author note, I promise. Just wanted to say that I'm sad to end this and that it was a hell of a ride.